So our last speaker for today is actually someone that I've known for years as well. It's quite funny. It's funny how this denim world, another fellow designer that went to the same college, same town, so funny. And but now he's also in the denim industry, and he's become quite a formidable denim specialist as well. His name's Rowan, and he's had a lot of experience working in a lot of high street and also as a production manager, doing everything in the denim world, all different categories. So it's very interesting to hear his thoughts. To end off, I've got a clicker. It should be right here. Should be. Yes. All right.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Marcin.
No worries.
Oh. There you go. I'll start behind here. So I just want to talk you through kind of case study, what I've been doing while I've been in Debenhams for the last 2.5 years. So it's what we've learned and where we're going. The talk, I just want to quickly go through a big background about me and then talk about what the difference is between the design and product developer, because when I started, didn't really understand. And then my initial findings, and it's kind of a story, the start, the end, and the middle bit is the interesting bit. And then a little bit of my thoughts of maybe future genes and further reading points. So just to quickly, I hear a lot when I speak to a lot of my colleagues, my friends, this is the year of reset, this is the year everyone woke up. So this is just kind of me resetting, start the slides. The top middle one is really the big impactful one, where in China it really all kicked off with the Greenpeace image from space, where there are 2.5 million jeans made in this city alone of 3,000 units, and you can see it from space. It's just incredible. And then River Blue, which we've mentioned a bit earlier, which is an interesting documentary. If you haven't seen it, go see this. And then right now in London, all around the world, climate change, the Extinction Rebellion, saying 12 years to save the planet. So that really sets the scene of what we're trying to do here. So job roles and positions. So I'll just quickly go through. I graduated with a BA honours degree, same uni as Marcin. My first job started as an assistant designer in M&S, a supplier to M&S. So I was really straight on the ground. Within 9 months, I was out in China. I was seeing the weaving units. I was seeing where garments were made. I was really exposed straight away. So a couple of countries, Vietnam, Indonesia. Then I moved to Fat Face. Again, it's more kind of seeing more things, working with India predominantly, and a bit of Hong Kong, and more doing like trousers and washing experience. Then I moved on to Next, where this was more product development and design. So I was doing a bit of both, kind of, with this one. And then my first official product developer role was at Debenhams, where I was given the challenge of turning around all of the menswear denim in 12 months. So there's 8 brands. They want new fabrics, new washers, and so on. Then the future, so sustainability for sure, product development and consultant, that's what I'm going to be doing. So I quickly went on Google and Googled what a designer is and what a product developer is. So in effect, a designer, as they would say, is a surface. You've got form, shape, surface, and all the kind of details. The product developer needs to do that, but also have all the elements. They need to know all the components that go into it. So I'd compare product development to sustainability, where you need to know everything that goes into this. You can't just be a designer to pick a fabric and design it. You need to know all the components that go into it. So Debenhams, I found this out when I started, surprised, 241 years old. What does their supply chain look like? The image in the background is what it would have been like 241 years old, which are pretty much tailors sitting side by side making shoes. So here, I'm not going to go on too long about it, but when you join a company that's been going that long and a supply base that big, if I went back 10 years, they've been hit on margin a lot, and they're being kind of squeezed on prices. So Chino, every year, nothing really changes, but you have to get more sales and a better margin. So they're getting knocked and knocked. Sorry, it's automatically going on. They're getting knocked on price. And then when you bring new people into the fold, they go, look, how much can you pay? And it's $10, but we charge $14. And we're like, oh, well, how are we going to get there? So that's a challenge that we have. I move on to my journey at Debenhams. So this is the first steps you need to do, starting anywhere really. Getting to know your setup and suppliers. Also, visiting and seeing with your own eyes. This is where questions come in. You can question things. When you see it with your own eyes, go, does that machine really do that? Or can that do that? Or why can't you do that? And then you can see if they can't do it or they can do it. And it's understanding. Then using experience and support from the denim manufacturers. So what I mean here is people like Elite, Tonello, these different machine makers that have these machines in the factory. they want to support you. They want to say, you know, what are you trying to achieve? We've got this machine, want to save water, can you help us or support us? But also that helps in the future of kind of new machines like all the new ones we've seen today, because you don't walk into a factory and all those lovely brand new machines are there, because most of them are set up with these bellies that we've mentioned once or twice, which I'll go further into later on. The hard work starts here, which is obvious really. So you've got an understanding and now you've got to really start. Your starting point, trial and errors, like Sanjeev said, that you try things, sometimes they work out and you're like, brilliant, amazing, save water. Sometimes they don't, and you've got to go back to the drawing board and really look at it and think about what you can do. Oh, sorry. Curveballs. So what I mean by curveballs is buyers. So buyers will actually move your production, say it's 10, 20 cents, they'll move it. And you've got to try and stop that for sure, because you've done all this work. But if it does move, you need to know what launches they've got. Because if you want this savings of X amount of water, energy, or whatever it is, you need to understand what they've got in this unit versus the unit you had before. And then this is the most important thing for me, from a denim point of view, is the importance of wash techs and developers in each unit. You're going to meet a lot of people, a lot of directors, a lot of merchandisers, and they're predominantly who you speak to. These guys only transfer your message on to these guys, wash technicians and developers. These are what you need to really get in close with and get to know them and make a good partnership really with them. So beauty of WhatsApp is really where I mean. So my first trip, actually, if I skip on, Habib's my wash technician, actually, in Debenhams. This is him. This is my first day. So I was really trying to break the ice. So our first meeting, I was like, let's get a picture together. Yeah, it'd be really good. Then I picked up these hot pants. He'd get hold those while I take a picture. And they're closer, a bit closer, a bit closer. And then he realized what was going on. So we're kind of breaking the ice, getting to know each other. But also that straight away breaks it. So then when I need favors from him or I need questions or answers, we've started that relationship. And over the last 2.5 years, we've been good friends. We text each other a lot about anything and everything, to be honest. So this is my starting point. So when I started 2.5 years ago, we were using a lot of belly washers, which is an average of 70 to 90 litres at minimum. Probably a lot more, up to 150 litres. There's a lot of hand work, hand sanding, bleaching, so a lot of exposure to chemicals, and hand grinding, like the bottom right is, if you guys don't know, a hand grinder, you literally have a grinder and you rip these jeans to pieces to get the look you kind of want. So this is where I'd start. So I had to choose my focus and phased approach. So could it be water? Water's a big thing at the moment, I could focus on that. Could it be energy? Could it be chemicals? Or worker impact, so focus on that. These are some elements you can start to look at, but then you need a phased approach. So I'll start with water, for instance, and then what could be my next kind of phases? I could look at sustainable fibres, or maybe eco-dyes, or carbon footprint, which is the bigger picture. And a lot of them go against each other. So you need to work out your focuses and work your way down. So it's kind of what I've done in sync there, to be honest. So denim processing, we've talked a lot today, so I skip through quite quick, which is great. You choose your fibre, which you start from, could be tencel, cotton, hemp. Then you can start to choose your kind of dye types. So is it liquid dyes? Is it earth dyes, natural dyes? And then your mill, this quick video actually, this is a Bangladesh mill, if you guys haven't been before to a mill. This is them weaving all the denim. So then you can choose your mill. Trims and components we've touched on briefly. So here you've got the metal work. So do you want to save on water for the finishing? Do you want to use recycled tapes for the zips? Do you want to use recycled threads for the making? Do you want a vegan patch instead of leather? All these components you've got to think of right at the start. Then the design part. So this is you guys. So this is where you can start to design the garment. You can put as many or as little components as you want. But if you want to start to think about the future, zero waste, where for sure it's going, you need to really be tight with your patterns. But also start to think, actually, can I start losing seams, for instance? Can I get less and less and less? Then you need to design your wash. So we talked about lasers earlier, so this is how I do it, for instance. The middle image would be a vintage garment. I'd make kind of a laser pattern. The one on the left is actually the raw garment, so you can see how it starts. I'd start with this, and then I'd work out I want to do laser, then I'd do a little bit of tinting, and maybe do this, that. And I've got an idea before I start all this processing. Then chemicals, so my selection of chemicals. If I am going to use potassium permanganate, for instance, what substitute could I use? Could I use a different machine that can give that effect? and then choose your cycle. So this is actually a quick video where they're using spray. So it's like a mist. Rather than filling it with water, it's using a mist to get all the kind of chemicals to activate. So the liquor ratio is a lot lower in this. Right, this is a little kind of case study. So this is where I think Andrew mentioned earlier on cotton. It's kind of what you're told, it's facts. These are the facts I've been given. So this is a Bangladesh mill, in one of the best one in, I'd say, Bangladesh. They buy BCI cotton, which we mentioned earlier, which is a good supporting initiative. They use liquid dyes, which is great, but how sustainable is this? So if we're going to get the fibre from America, which I've been told, then we're going to need to ship it to spin it. So then we need to ship it into Indonesia. So this is like 9,300 miles, which is a huge amount, just for that first stage. Then we move on to Bangladesh, which they dye and weave it in the same place, which is great, which is 4,400 miles. Then once we've done all this and processed the garments, we need to ship it back to wherever we're going to sell it. So this is, for us, it's back to the UK, which is another 9,100 miles. So if you consider that's 22,800 miles. So if I was going to put that into context, if you're going to sell around the world, it'll be 21,600 miles. So these jeans, each one is going around the world once. So it's a huge amount on the kind of carbon footprint side. So you've got to weigh up which one you want. Sustainability in fibres, dyes, carbon footprint. But it's questions you need to ask yourself when you're doing right at the start. Next one. So I'm surprised no one's mentioned this yet. So these are all the washing steps. So from the raw garment all the way down to the finished garment. I've managed to condense it to 12, but there's actually 19 in here because you've got rinsing, you've got 4 rinsing stages here. So we do something called dry processing with the first couple of steps before we get the garment wet, and then we do wet processing, tinting, rips, and all these kind of processing. So there's a huge amount that you have to do for one. So let's start where there's a lot of factories, you'll actually see this now. Lasers are great, but they're not everywhere. So first, they need to look at hand sanding the top. So this is what we call the whiskers. So this is the whisker area, they're hand sand in. So you might have a guy, 20 or 30 people in a line doing each side. Then you've got to look at the thigh area. So they're hand sanding the thigh instead of using chemicals. So you've got 2 guys on this. So if you've got like rows of 20, 30, there's a lot of people doing these. So the future is definitely things like this, so understanding lasers. The middle one here is a vintage garment again, so I'd always start with this. We can scan it in, do it in Photoshop, tweak the level. So the first trial will be something like this, where you can see that's kind of almost like an X-ray of the gene, but it does all this processing in one go. And then we tweak them to the level we want, and once we're happy, then we can push the button and do production. And this is more consistent because you've just got a laser doing the same thing again and again and again. I've got a quick video here. It's very short because I did it for Instagram when I first did it, and it's like 3 seconds long, but it should be about 60. So we're going to do 2 laser fronts and 2 laser backs with 2 guys working. It's super quick. But when it burns as well, it's got a unit on the bottom that sucks away all the smoke, so they're not exposed to smoke. And it's just 2 guys in these air-conditioned rooms with these lasers, which is a lot better, I think, for the people. This is more of a case study. So this is where I'll have my wash standard. This is on my recent trip, actually. Then I do a hand process version because you generally get closer from the hand process straight away. And then this is my laser. So you see the laser doesn't look as good as the hand process. But what we can do now is knowing the hand process is the correct fabric, and it can do that. So we need to adjust the laser pattern to suit that. So this is where we can start comparing and evolving. So unfortunately, we're doing two lots every time, but this is the only way we can do it until we get to a stage where we're getting hit rates of 1 every time. So that's dry processing. So this is my basic findings, really. So we talked about a belly or horizontal washer. So this takes all the water along the bottom, takes something like 800 litres, about 80 garments, for instance, in this. And then so most laundries actually have this because they're cheaper than getting front loaders, which are these machines. So these are, if you will, like massive washers that you would have at home. But the water is a smaller compartment at the bottom, so use less water and have more garments. So even at this stage, when you consider there's 4 rinse cycles within here, even at the first stage, you could save a minimum of 40 to 50% saving of water at the first stage, where this is kind of trying to break it down to easy, manageable chunks without getting brand new machines every time. Stone washing is also something we've touched on, and stone wash sludge. So if you guys don't know, these are pumice stones. This is how they arrive in the factory. So they're quite jagged, taken out of the volcanic rock. And then after a wash or two, they can look like this. So they're quite round and symmetrical. They lose about 50% of the weight in the first wash. So if you put that into context, some factories in Pakistan, for instance, they'll buy 650 tons a month of these stones. So you've got to think, after that, where's all that sludge? Where's all the things gone? It's going out into a waterway somewhere, no doubt into the rivers, unless you've got a good ETP plant to clean it up. So that's where we are today. The new innovations coming through are these resin stones. So these are made from resin. They lose like 0.3 of a gram after 6,000 hours, and then you can actually melt them down and reuse them. You've got two types here, one more kind of smooth for kind of uniformed kind of colour loss, and one more abrasive, so you're going to get more kind of abrasive, kind of acidy kind of wash. Or if you don't want to put anything in the drums, you've got things like this, which Alice mentioned earlier, which is a no stone, which is kind of, as I mentioned, it's like a cheese grater, for instance, but in between that and sandpaper. So the jeans are bouncing around the drum and generally getting kind of shredded slowly by slowly. So it's as close as you can get to stone washing without actually putting stones in. So this is how I benchmark myself. So I'll do something like a conventional wash. So I'll do it just how I would normally do it. Then I get the calculations of my water, my energy, for instance, or my chemical, or my water, or my worker impact, which is based on a system that we use in the factory. Then I've got a benchmark to work against. Then I'll look at all the sustainable bits I can do through machines, through chemicals, stones, all these elements I can do. So then you'll see from here, actually, this is where I can prove as close as I can, factually, what we've done. So they're not round numbers, they're not rounded up, they're not rounded down, they're actual. So if you divide it, do your mathematical equations, that's what they work out to be. So from 31 litres on this gene to 12 litres, and then energy, and then chemical. With chemical, when you're using better chemicals and they're less toxic, and they're not used in open systems like the bellies, it's better for the worker. And this is how it kind of equates in a benchmarking system. So this is where we are today. So we've done this through using, as I mentioned, lasers, substituting PP or other chemicals, doing water reduction through selection of machines and using better machines. These two genes are on the website now, so I just quickly got them a couple of kind of numbers. So between 50 and 60% water saving, between 30% energy saving, and then chemicals around 50% saving. Right, this is the fun bit. So this is my idea. I'm sure a lot of it, I've put the futures here because a lot of these things I'm going to discuss are available now, maybe not mass scale, but they are available. So if we can make a future gene made within 50-mile radius, ambitious for sure, in the UK, we could look at growing indigo. So it could be woad because indigo theory is quite hard to grow in these conditions. Or we could look at things like bacteria. So there's this new bacteria indigo that's coming where they're changing the DNA of bacteria and making it literally spit out indigo. So it's on a small scale at the moment, but they're looking to kind of ramp this up. Then you've got to look at what's the best fiber to use. There's this new one called cottonized hemp. So that's actually adjusting the hemp, because hemp's quite a raw, coarse fiber. It's got some great properties of UV, antimicrobial, but also now we're making it to more like cotton. So could we do 100% hemp gene that feels like cotton? Data run, weaving and dyeing. I've seen this in some factories in China where they're actually doing less workers on the floor, so it's more data coming backwards and forwards. So the dyeing units are running on their own without people having to check the chemicals or exposed to the chemicals. So this could be an interesting idea. Community fabric like factory like Hans was talking about, so you're giving back, there's a lot more kind of into it, and it's all about, washing in a carbon neutral laundry. So this is kind of an example of what it looked like. So it's almost like a chemistry lab. They're all closed loop systems. So you would be able to wash, you'd use ozone, use gases. And then when the jeans come out, there'd be, you can dry them, but you can have solar panels like Sanjeev's factory, where you'd have solar panels, you can have wind farms. And then, it could be, you could have a positive gene in the future, I think, with all this kind of technology. And I want to finish. If I was a student, I came to one of these talks, I'd like to have some information to take away with me. So this is some further reading. Podcasts are easy. You can do it at any time. These three are the best, I'd say. The middle one got me into podcasts, where it had G-Star's most sustainable jean ever, and it literally told you everything, where the fabric was wrong, where the garment was made, and gave you all the information. The other two are really kind of interesting as well. So I'd just go through and look through and find the most interesting. Books, I'd say these three are the best for sure. So the first one is the Patagonia. He started it as a handbook for anyone starting the company. There's interesting things in there, like, he stopped doing orange dyes because he couldn't find a non-toxic version of one. So he stopped making orange jackets, which I thought was incredible, that his stance. Fashion Crisis with Claire Press. So she's the sustainability editor of Vogue Australia. That first book's great if you just wanted to, get acclimatized to what's going on. And then the M1's it's a bit more geeky. It's got a lot more of the future kind of things coming. So I'd read all of them, to be honest. And there's something to subscribe to. I'd say Sourcing Journal and Innovation Textiles. These are all free. So I've subscribed to them. So this is where I found out about the bacteria indigo and things like that. They'll just email you all the new innovations. And then if you haven't seen the River Brew documentary, I'd watch that. I'll leave that up so people can...
Unbelievable. Thank you so much. Yeah, wow. Okay. It's as a roundup, as like Sanjeev and Rowan saying, traveling is so important for any design. I remember when I was in lots of I've been in the industry for 18 years, and my first few jobs I got to travel once, and it was only for like a week, maybe like 4-day trip, and I was like, wow, once a season, and how much can you cover in a 4-day trip, So, and then I ended up working at like DKNY Jeans, and we actually lived out in Asia the whole time, and I learned so much. But traveling, going to mills, asking silly questions, asking questions about how much water gets used, even though they might look at you in a silly way, you need to know all these things as a product designer or a designer, and then you can make conscious decisions and only work with people that you think deserve it. That's what I'd say. But wow, that's it. I'm just going to do the closing comments, but thank you so much. Oh, no, wait, stay there. Oh. Any questions for Rowan? This is a specialist who travels loads, so much about everything about making jeans. Yes, a mic's going to come over to you now.
Nearly got away.
Huh?
Nearly got away.
Nearly got away. Yeah, no, not yet.
On the PowerPoint, I saw that you inserted a picture where you were actually doing the laser on a big piece of denim fabric instead of on the actual cutout pattern. Don't you think is there a reason why you do it on a big roll of denim instead of doing it according to the amount you need, if that makes sense?
Yeah, it's on. What you need to do at the start, you'll probably do a few trials and different levels of the laser, because depending what the template looks like, it can vary 50% up and down. So you need to do a couple of them, wash it, and then see what comes out. And then once you've done that, then you can make your jeans and then start lasering them.
But also what happens is that every fabric and every indigo type is different. So you could have 7 fabrics with the same laser pattern at the same laser velocity, and it'll look completely different. So let's just say Top Man, for instance, they've got one jean and it's in 7 different finishes. They're in the same laser pattern, they'll have to adjust it for every single one. That's just an example. So every fabric you have to do a test.
Yeah. LSF file.
Yeah. There you go. Any other questions? Wow. Okay. So let me just say thank you to Rowan. Thanks. You. Okay. This is where the thank yous happen. One little thing also. Kingpins guys are going to send you, it's going to be probably Erin or someone from PR team, they're going to send you guys a poll. So they like hearing everything from what you didn't like about this event, and the plan is to do many more of these as well. So, in different locations. This is obviously the first one, and Ravensbourne is very honored to host the very, very first one, and hopefully it will come back here again, but there is a plan to do many more of these. So any thoughts, any concerns, anything you didn't like, anything you loved, anyone that you thought they went on too long or whatever it is, you just need to tell us everything as well. That'd be really amazing. We need to obviously thank our main sponsors who have made this event completely free. We got like sort of like Tencel, Cytex, and like Fiber Trace, Ravensbourne for hosting this event. Goodness me. Obviously, the people at Ravensbourne have been so accommodating. We got like Chloe from like production. We got like Joanne who's been helping with on the Kingpin side. We got Gurmit and Gabby and Lee who are running the fashion courses here, and myself, who's been an organizer and with many hats on. But thank you so much. And of course, Andrew Olar for letting this all happen. You know, Andrew, Andrew's been a supporter of Ravensbourne for, this is the second year now, and he came here to help judge the denim module, which has just started again now, and he came to judge the last one. And at the end of that, it was like January time, and he goes, you know what? Let's have an event here for the students when you do your denim module, and let's try and do it that it can be before our Kingpins event in Amsterdam. So most of the people will be traveling to Europe anyway. They can just swing by here. So thank you to Andrew for doing that, and it's going to lead to many more of these, which is amazing. And we're really happy that we open this up to all the other colleges as well. You know, rather than keeping it exclusive, which we don't like, it's very much been for everyone, and there's going to be many more of these, and we're very excited. And I love the fact that it came all the way from the UN, all the way down to like Rowan explaining about washing treatments and all of his workings, which has been amazing. So thank you so much. Beers are there. Have I missed anyone? Have I missed anything to say thank you to? I don't think so. Oh, I have. Please. Oh, goodness me. I've been thanking each of the speakers individually. But yes, the speakers for giving up their time. All of them have done many hours of work making these presentations for you. They haven't recycled. And I know, because I go to a lot of talks, and most of the stuff I've seen has been actually like generated for this talk, which is amazing. So thank you to the speakers and their time. Most of them have flown to be here, you know. And it's a really big ask, you know, because these people are really busy. Like most of them, you know, they're giving up so much of their time to be here. Like even one or two of them shot off because they've got so much work to do. So, you know, it's been amazing. And thank you so much for letting me host. Sorry, I stuttered at the beginning. That's how it is with me. But thank you for your time, and hope to see you again.